Hi, welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future. And today we're going to bring a new understanding
between what is Lucifer and what is Satan.
And so the title of this is Lucifer is Not Satan. So
they are two different entities.
And somewhere along the line, historically, man got the two of them confused to be the same entity.
This is what we understand from the meditation, what we're going to speak about.
So Kent will go into a trance or a deep meditation, and he can hear spiritual communication. And we have guides that teach us. And these lessons we have published into two books in the Augmentation of Man series, A Study in Renaissance, and The Acquiescence of Humanity. And those are available on Amazon. And we do these videos to help people to understand these lessons.
So we're going to talk about what the cause of Satan is. So Satan is not, Satan is part of the dark side. There's the light and the dark in human terms. And we talk about the good and the bad force. Satan is from the dark side.
And it's beyond the good and the bad. That's kind of just the general terms that everybody understands. But we have to first understand what the light is. So the light is an energy that carries an intelligent communication.
And truth.
And truth. So when you quiet your mind, sometimes you can hear words and you're tapping into this energy stream that's all around us, that it's a network of energy that travels throughout the atmosphere, and our physical bodies can interface with that energy, and we can access this information. It would be like Wi-Fi, but we don't need the computer, okay? And so when you meditate, you can learn to access this information stream, and you're accessing the light. So this is an intelligent energy that brings further understanding and wisdom unto ourselves. Now, people who are of the light, or people who are positive, and entities who are positive and of the light, share understanding without anything in expectation of return.
And some knowledge, understanding and knowledge, which is a lesson to be learned by everyone.
Right.
But
we don't expect anything in return.
No.
So we don't charge for our services. And so what we do is of service to humanity.
Yeah.
But the dark, you want to explain the dark?
The dark is not understanding, and it's not knowledge. It's like being in a dark room and you can't find your way out, but it's worse than that.
And beings who are of the dark, or negative entities,
do not learn. They do not understand. Period.
But they also control the flow of information.
Well, they try to control the flow of information for those that will listen.
And so we have a difference between light and dark is the promotion of understanding and wisdom and knowledge, and the hindrance or the lack of, or the diversion of truth, knowledge, and understanding.
Truth.
So this is what divides the positive and negative.
What is this being's true name? What is the being's true name? And each sphere within the galaxy or the universe, I'm not sure which, but has its own language. And we call that Centauri here in human terms, which is Satan.
So it's another name for Satan, and that is Centauri.
So does each livable sphere have its own version of Centauri?
And so the answer was yes, that each livable sphere has its own version. And I'm sure there's probably varying degrees, but that is my interpretation.
So the question that Renee asked, is Lucifer and Satan or Centauri one and the same? And they are not. They are two separate entities or two separate spirits.
So, but Satan and Centauri are one and the same. And so you were asking a question, and what you heard was that Lucifer.
Well, Lucifer is a deceiver. I was told that Lucifer is strictly a deceiver, and it will give you directions in your life in different ways to put you on a path of thinking you're in the right place at the right time, going the right direction, and you're not. But it is not Centauri. Centauri is a stealer of souls. Lucifer is a deceiver that deceives you in understanding and learning.
And so Satan is considered a true negative entity,
Yes,
because this
stealer of
entity is
souls.
a stealer of souls, whereas Lucifer is more the trickster or the deceiver. And there's a purpose to that. So these entities do have a purpose. The purpose of Satan originally was the balance between the light
No, well, it was the dark
and
side.
the dark. So Satan is provided as the dark entity to hold the dark side as a balance to the light. So everything in
Jesus-
creation has got
Jesus,
balance.
Yeah, Jesus was the light side, and God was the light side, and Satan.
Is the
Actually,
dark.
Jesus was the light side, and Satan was the dark side.
Yeah, so everything has balance. Everything has opposite poles to create balance. So even Satan was created by God to provide the balance or the opposite pole of the light or
So
the
you got a
positive.
choice whether you want to go to the light or go to the dark.
Yes, and so we all have choice. And so Lucifer, on the other hand, is used the deception. Now, people don't understand this lesson. Deception sometimes is used as a teaching tool.
Yeah.
And so
It also can be a negative. It can be a positive tool or a negative tool. Depends
yes,
on how you look, how you perceive it and look at it.
and so when we start talking about deception being used, it's to create the circumstances so that you search or you dig deeper for the answers.
Yeah, once you find out you've been deceived and you're going the wrong way for a specific period of time, which you're caught up in, and you say, "Oh man, this is deception. I'm doing the wrong thing here," then you might dig deeper to find out what the real truth is, and turn the other way to your other direction.
It's a correction, and it helps us to balance ourselves in our understanding and knowledge. And it's a lesson that has to be learned by everyone. So it causes us to self-correct, right?
Yeah, if you refuse to listen to Lucifer and then listen to God, you'll be doing the right direction. But you listen to Lucifer, then he'll promise you everything.
Yeah, so in the story about Jesus.
Well, he finally told Jesus, I can give you all this, I can make you the king of the world. But Jesus did not take.
He didn't fall for the deception.
He didn't fall for the deception. But Lucifer works on the ego of the human race, on the things that people think they might or might not be. And he practices deception to the finest art of deception on encouraging people to listen to him. And it's not truth.
So when we talk about ego, and a lot of people, I think, who've studied in the spiritual realm understand that there's a place for ego, but at a certain point, you want to really suppress the ego. The ego can get us into a lot of trouble. The ego is often involved in the development of dictators. And so when you have Lucifer working on the ego, is it not trying to cause us to learn the lesson of too big of an ego?
Well, I remember I used to, I guess in cartoons, I just remember this, there used to be a Lucifer on one shoulder and a God on the other shoulder.
Or an angel on the other.
Angel on the other shoulder, and they're arguing, trying to direct this person to do certain things. But they may,
So Lucifer's objective is not to steal the soul, but to be the deceiver, the trickster, to be attracted to those who have these enormous egos, to lead them astray. And ultimately, the goal is to try and get that person to realize the lesson in it all. So luce, L-U-C in Latin means the light, and luz, this sounds the same, it's spelled differently in Spanish, is L-U-Z. It also means the light. So it is kind of an indirect way of getting people to the light, to the understanding, through the use of deception.
Yeah, because you learn when you're deceived and you go the wrong direction, you normally learn a lot. You're like, well, I'm not going to do that again. I learned I was in the wrong direction, doing the wrong things.
So it's the lessons of the hard knocks, right? Yeah. Okay. And so I asked, is Lucifer considered a negative entity? Like Satan is considered a negative entity. And so the answer was, if you consider deception and learning negative. So you have to, I think all of us have to open our parameters of how the spirit world works in its effort to teach. And deception is not always considered a negative. Now, sometimes it is, but it really gets down to the intent of that entity.
Right. It's negative if you follow it, and it goes in a negative pattern, and you have
and you don't autocorrect.
Right.
Satan is definitely negative. He steals souls. This is really negative.
Yeah, it's really bad.
And so deception can be used as a learning tool. It can cause us to be on our toes, to be on our game, because you and I have been deceived before. Yeah. Not that Lucifer came through, but there's a lot of other entities out there that are deceivers. Mm-hmm. And when you are doing this, the meditations, and you're communicating with other entities, as many of you are, you have to really be on your game, because you can be fooled, you can be deceived, and you can be taken off your path and in another direction. But it causes you to be on your game, to really be perceptive, and to be paying attention. And this is one of the main goals of all of that.
You've heard us talk about practicing discernment.
That's right. Yeah. So it's all about discerning. And so you can't go into this believing everything. The discerning creates the balance for that mind that is too open is often gullible. So you have to have a healthy balance of discernment in order to really stay on the right track.
Jesus did not have a big ego. He used discernment to ward off Satan's guidance, giving him the whole world.
You mean Lucifer?
I mean Lucifer.
See, this is so ingrained in us that it's one and the same person.
Warded off Lucifer. Jesus did not have a big ego. He knew where he was going and who he was. But Lucifer tried to tempt him through deception and Jesus said, no, I'm not going to do this. This is not what, he knew what his mission was.
You become very clear, and you become very adept at learning who the ones are to trust and who the ones are to not trust. It's through feeling, it's through feeling through vibrationally that entity. When you communicate often with the same entity, you build a rapport, you build a trust, because they will give you information and they will direct your path in a way that has proven out with time to be reliable and to be trustworthy.
And that's what's important, when it's proven out to be truthful in time, because Lucifer is used to test us, to test the human race.
And so we have the ego that is trying to rein in. We have the testing, so that it tests our resolve, and it tests us for us staying on our true path. Its deception can be used as a learning tool, so that when we discover that we don't understand correctly, and oftentimes we're embarrassed because we're called out publicly on it, then it creates the conditions within us to search for the truth. And so this is what the job of the deceivers are. And so it really helps us to fine tune our own skills so we can be on our game and we can stay clearly on our path. Now, Satan's time is coming to an end.
Never. He takes the souls. He is the very, very dark side. So if you follow Satan, you'll lose everything. You'll lose your whole soul. So,
and this is the same entity as Santori. So historically, when we were talking to our guides about Satan or Santori, God created this entity as it is. Now, this is not an entity that was an angel that fell from the grace of God. This entity was created this way. And so when he was originally created, he traveled throughout the cosmos looking for a home, and he landed at different livable spheres or planets where other beings resided, and was not allowed to stay. They pushed him out.
Either that or his time was done, because you're talking millions of years. So
but he was not allowed to stay long term, at least. And so he kept traveling from one planet to another until he landed here, and he's been here only because we have allowed it. And so part of our job is to recognize the steam that he has been building. He has a lot of followers, and he is going to be stealing all of those souls. We need to totally reject this entity. That is part of our learning lesson.
Yes, and so when we reject Satan, he will be energetically changed and moved elsewhere, moved on. But we have to do that. We have to reject.
And Satan. So that's part of our lesson at this time. And so we hope that we've brought some new understanding to this this dilemma. I think there's been some talk about Lucifer being of the light, because Luce means light, but we also have this idea through the religious teachings that Lucifer is Satan, and neither are quite correct. And so Lucifer is the deceiver that eventually, hopefully, brings people to a greater understanding through the use of deception.
Doesn't bring them the understanding. Hopefully, people will wake up to their understanding. come back to where they're supposed to be.
I guess he doesn't,
Yeah.
he doesn't bring them to the understanding. He uses deception to lead us astray. And it's our job to wake up
Yeah.
and to realize we've been deceived and then to find the truth.
Yeah, my question is, could, in the Bible talks about the snake in the Garden of Eden and tells Eve to eat the apple or take the apple to Adam. Is that snake Lucifer the deceiver? That's a question. Okay, yeah. So that's something to contemplate. There's a lot to learn yet.
Yeah, and yet in other historical texts throughout the world, the snake is also known as the holder of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so is that snake in the Bible, because he's saying to eat the fruit of knowledge,
Yeah.
is that snake
deceiving
them, or was that changed historically by man to be to fear the knowledge and the understanding so that it would keep us in the dark?
That's right. Yeah.
So
that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Anyway, we thank you for
joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell if you want to be notified. Or if you prefer, you can receive our videos directly into your email. If you go onto our website, verdiance.com, and that's V as in Victor, ERDIANCE. And it is at the end of this video. You can see all of our channels. We're on Gab and Brighteon, and we're on BitChute, so, and YouTube. You can find us all in all of those.
One audio only.
We're on, we've got a podcast on anchor.com, or I'm sorry, anchor.fm. Yeah, and so if you prefer a podcast, like say listening while you drive, and so you can find us there. And it's all at The Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, with the exception of the website, which is verdiance.com.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good day. Take care, and peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment.